Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is making it easier than ever to support Black-owned brands. When you go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited, you'll not only get to shop products from Black-owned brands, but also learn about founders like Janelle Stevens of Camille Rose, which specializes in products for naturally curly hair. And there are many more awesome products that you have yet to discover. It's all easy to find with Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform. Join in on celebrating Black brands today and every day at Walmart. We are Black and Unlimited. Visit walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover more. That's walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.
On this week's episode of the Highly Relevant Podcast, Oscar-winning actor Javier Bardem and film critic Mike Sargent. Welcome to episode 105 of the Highly Relevant Podcast, a U.S. Latino show dedicated to pop culture, but with a Hispanic twist. I am your host, Jack Rico, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for discovering us. All right, guys, one of the best actors of our generation, Javier Bardem, is on my show this week, and we had a pretty honest conversation about an array of subjects, including the moments on set where his acting just sucked and what he did to overcome it. He talked about working with his wife, Penelope Cruz, by the way, unsolicited, and which he rarely brings up. And he also gave me this incredible insight on what actors need to do to give the best performance of their life. And what Alfonso Cuarón said to him when he asked him why they haven't worked together yet. It's very funny the way he tells it. You're going to get a kick out of that. And my good friend and film critic Mike Sargent and I debate who will win at the Oscars this Sunday. We've been waiting for a long time. We've been talking about it for a long time. This is it. We also talked about what they need to improve their poor ratings and why no one really wanted to host the Oscars this year. I begin with Javier Bardem.
Llama a Alejandro y que venga lo antes posible.
Mi hija, déjenme decidir qué hay que hacer.
Antonio, vale, ya está.
Déjame en paz.
Hola, Javier. How are you?
How are you? Good. How are you?
Let's begin with the interview with the following question. How would you describe Everybody Knows for people who are interested in seeing it this weekend?
I will describe it as two things in one. One, there's a thriller in it that is going to keep you at the edge of the seat because the way it's done is very unorthodoxly, is not in an unorthodox way. It's very organic and very realistically done. So really makes you wonder what is going on because you don't quite get what happened and who made that thing happen. And at the same time, you are discovering a full world of people going through very powerful emotions and sensations among each other because they have to face the truth. And we know that facing or saying the truth or being told the truth is not easy thing to do. And that's what happened. And it's I think it's a movie that really keeps you thinking after you see it about many, many things.
It's definitely thought-provoking, the film. Now, explain to us your character. How would you describe him?
I describe him as a man who really sacrificed everything he does, everything he has and he is for an emotional instinct, for a pure, deep instinct. He's not sure. He doesn't know. Not everybody knows because he doesn't. But he has a feeling. And he wants to be, he wants to follow that feeling, that instinct. So, in a way, he's a hero and a victim. And what it is for sure is a person who really does an ultimate act of pure love for something. And for someone.
In most of your career, you've become a master actor in empathy, and you can even unearth extreme menace in your characters. How did you go about such a complicated character? How do you prepare for something like that? Are you with your family, hanging out with your friends, and all of a sudden, the next day you just walk into set and you know what to do? Or is there a type of preparation that you do that you go, guys, I'm turning off the phone. I'm not meeting with any friends for a while. This character is so complex, I'm going to have to lose myself for a month and then go on set and then method act. What is your process with complicated characters like this one?
I think that's a great question. I think it's a little bit of both. It's like yourself when you have to write an important, demanding, powerful article. I'm sure it's like shit. I have to focus.
Right.
I have to really put myself available for what it needs to be done. But at the same time, life is there. Life is out there. I don't know if you have family. They are not waiting. They want to see dad. And they don't give a shit about what dad is doing for a living. They just want dad to be dad.
Right.
And dad has to be there. So, and that's the beauty of it. And that was, by the way, keeps you sane. And so, yeah, in a way you go, okay, how do I compartmentalize the time and the effort of being able to be a normal human being on a normal day basis, and at the same time a crazy freak that has to create this imaginary world that doesn't exist but within my mind, and that I have to give a way out through my emotions. And then you find it. You find it in the way you can. Some days you find it better, some days you don't. And they come as still roles, and you go, fuck, I don't have it at all.
Right.
And some of the days, yes, you are with your friends and you're with your family, and all of a sudden there's something that comes to you and you go, wow, that's it. And you jump into it, and all of a sudden it takes you. So it's life. I don't think there's one thing or the other. It's like everything.
Right. So it sounds almost like you have to wait for that moment of inspiration to fully grasp the character, correct?
Totally. And I think in any other artistic discipline, like writing yourself or painting, music, acting, directing, sculpting, I think it always comes when oneself takes himself out of the equation. Like, we're so worried about what we are, what we do, how are we going to do it, how are we going to proceed, how are we going to be perceived, blah, 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 that it's all about fucking us.
Right.
And then we don't let the message, the energy, the whatever it is, call it whatever you want it to call, express. Because we are only expressing our desire to be applauded or liked or recognized or loved. And then that is in the middle of what is a real creation, which is something that is totally beyond our control.
Right.
But the ones that can really achieve that are the ones who are so prepared, technically and emotionally and intellectually, to put themselves out of the equation, that the real thing, that they are taken by the real thing. And that takes a lot of time.
Yeah. I was emotionally exhausted as a viewer after watching the film. I'm sure you were too. How do you disconnect and not bring back the character's emotional exhaustion into your real life? Is it a day? Is it just snap your fingers and it happens? Or does it take a while before you get back to normal?
Well, for example, in this particular movie, I think Penelope did the hardest job of us all, which is to maintain that level of anxiety and anguish for 4 months, every day. So, yeah, I know, because I saw how hard for her was some days more than others. But also, thank God we have a blessed life. We have a beautiful family. We have a life. We can provide for our family. We have a job that we can make a living out of it. And we are very aware of that. We don't live out in the fucking clouds. We know how the world is constructed, and how blessed and lucky we are. So when we come to our reality, we are very aware of the great situation we are, because what we are creating is only fiction. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
When others are going through those things for real. So just that, only that, puts you right away in the present. Like, wow. That being said, yes, there are days easier than others. But most of the time, it's not something that you feel. It's something that people from the outside feel that you're going through. Like I remember when I was doing Loving Pablo, I didn't feel I was doing anything extraordinary after the shoot, but the people around me, including my family or Penelope, were like, easy with the demands, easy with the voice, easy with the with the anxiety, with the power of the voice, the body, and I didn't feel I was doing it, but you're taken by it. You're taken by it because you're putting your body and your whole into that energy. So of course that energy comes into yourself and stays with you a while. And after I did Beautiful from Iñárritu, it took me a good while to leave that character behind, because it was a long shoot about paying a patient with cancer, terminal cancer. Of course, when you finish, you need to lie down and breathe and remind yourself that it's only a lie, a big constructed lie.
Right. It's interesting you talked about Loving Pablo, now everybody knows. And I was wondering, when you and Penelope are casting a movie together, are you both looking to work together because it's work and family and you can spend time together? Or is it coincidence that someone's hiring Penelope for this movie and then you're brought in because you just happen to be the best person for the role? Which one is it?
I think it is coincidence for sure. It was coincidence for Asghar, and it was coincidence for all the rest, except one, Loving Pablo, which I was a producer. And I said, you are going to make it. And you are going to be paid the same I'm going to be paid. I am a strong believer in that, which is almost nothing, by the way. And we both are going to be fine with that, because at least we're going to be together with the kids.
Right.
Because I knew she was perfect for that role. But no, it happens to be a coincidence. And let me tell you, we really take it seriously. We sit down and we gave it a big thought about it, because it means a lot to us. It means, in one way, it's easier because the kids, the family is together. In some ways, we want to take care of that because it's, we feel comfortable. Thank God we feel very comfortable doing it. We know what is real and we know what is not. And we can divide that very precisely. And that's very sane and healthy. Thank God we have that. But at the same time, we don't want to look like we are doing it as a formula. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And we've done like 2 in a row, and it's like, hey, wait, let's stop for a second because it looks like we are looking for it or asking for it, and it's not that at all. It's quite the opposite.
Everybody knows is spoken in Spanish, but the film was written and directed by Iranian director Asghar Farhadi, who's a master of the human condition in terms of a director. Were there any challenges of him directing in a language that is not his own?
Well, yes, he was very... I mean, he loves to work, and he loves to be realistic, and he has a great sensor to what is fake and not true, and not truthful. And it doesn't matter if it's coming from a foreign language or a foreign actor making a gesture or a reaction, or something on the set that doesn't look right. He knows what does not work, what is not organic, or makes sense. So he has that, and that goes beyond any language. Besides that, he asked us for some help in terms of this line or the other, but most of it, no. Everything, he wrote it himself after spending here 1 year. And on set, he speaks English. We could speak English. But when we got deep in the mud, he will speak Persian and I will speak Spanish, because we need that in order to be more complex in the words we choose to communicate. And we had these great interpreters that they were turning every 24 hours, 2 of them. They were, you could feel, everybody felt that they were doing a great job on being precise and very, precise. Like not sharing or not wasting anybody's time on making the message get across. And so we never felt lost in translation. Not only me or Penelope, never. Not the crew, not the technicians, which is a miracle. It's a miracle because he was on his own in Spain doing a movie in Spanish. And I tell you, as a Spaniard, it's one of the most Spanish movies I've ever seen.
Really?
The quality of, yes, not only said by me, but said by critics in this country. The quality of the truth in those characters, in the habitat, in the village, in the manners, in the way they speak, in the atmosphere. It's very, very Spanish. Way more Spanish than many Spanish movies that has been done this year. So that's why he's Asghar Farhadi.
Wow. Now the last time I remember seeing you in a Spanish movie recently, I guess in the last decade, was Beautiful.
Yes.
After that, you started doing Eat, Pray, Love, Sons of the Clouds, Skyfall, To the Wonder, et cetera, et cetera. When you cross over into the English language movies, is there a desire for you to get back to working in your own language?
Well, I would love to play in both languages, and I wish I could learn more languages and knew more languages so I could work in different languages. Like Penelope speaks 5 languages, and she has to work in French, Italian, English, Spanish, and but I only know Spanish and a little bit of English. And yes, of course, my English is way better than it was 10 years ago, let's say, or almost 20 years ago when I did Before Night Falls with the great, loving Julian Schnabel.
What a great movie.
English movie, let's say. Yeah. My English is better than there, but still, it's not my Spanish. So, of course, when I work in my own language, I feel like I don't have any limits. Like I can imagine more, I can imagine deeper, I can go farther, I can question more the way I speak. In English, you have to, first of all, be understood. So you have to work on the pronunciation and on the lexic, on the phonetics. And that's a machine that is working 24 hours while you're shooting in English. So a very important part of the mind is working in a work that you're supposed to have with no mind at all.
Right.
You have to be free. You have to be, like with no boundaries, ready to fly. But still, there's a machine of consciousness working for you to not fuck it up. And that still is a big burden for me.
Right. And then my last question is, will you be at the Oscars, and any thoughts on Alfonso Cuarón's Roma? Did you see it? And any opinions?
Yeah, I'll be at the Oscars. I'll be honored to be there as a presenter. I cannot tell you the what I'm presenting for because they will sue me if I do so. And I have the luxury to watch Roma in Lyon, France Film Festival in this July, I think it was, on a big screen.
Wow.
And I was blown away. And not only that, I had the luxury to have a chat with Alfonso afterwards.
Did you guys talk about working together? When is Javier Bardem and Alfonso Cuarón going to work together?
Well, ask him. Every time I see him, it's like, when is that going to happen? And he says, I don't know, cabron.
Well, it would be a dream, Javier, for you to be working with Alfonso.
Well, that would be my dream.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for the interview. The film is amazing. I think everybody should go see it. Everybody Knows is currently in theaters right now. Muchísimas gracias, Javier.
Gracias. Thank you very much.
Y tratar de descubrir quién no sabe. Ahora todos lo saben.
And before I begin my next interview with Mike Sargent, it's time for a segment I like to call Jacked In. Let's begin with the top movie news of the week. Diego Luna, Chef Jose Andres, and Javier Bardem are among the presenters at the Oscars this Sunday. Chris Hemsworth will play Hulk Hogan in a new movie. Captain Marvel passes Aquaman and Wonder Woman in ticket pre-sales. And Pedro Almodóvar's new movie Dolor en Gloria debuts its first trailer starring Antonio Banderas and Penelope Cruz. In TV news, Eva Longoria has been tapped to direct and executive produce Brooke Shields in CW's new drama Glamorous. Puerto Rican actor Ramon Rodriguez joins NBC's pilot Prism. In Telemundo, NBC, and CNN land first two Democratic debates. Switching over to music, J Balvin teams up with Selena Gomez for a new song, I Can't Get Enough. Pitbull's audiobook, From Negative to Positive, lands at Audible Latino, and Luis Fonsi and Ozuna hit #1 on the Latin Airplay chart with Imposible. And in tech and social media news, Instagram Stories is now being used by 500 million people daily. Jennifer Lopez joins TikTok app to promote World of Dance. Roku has grown its streaming video platform to 27 million accounts, and Spotify is going all in, making a 500 million bet on podcasting by buying podcast network Gimlet and the podcast app Anchor. Welcome, Mike Sargent, to the Highly Relevant Podcast.
Thank you, Jack Rico.
You can hear Mike on WBAI Radio in New York. You can see him on PBS. You can see him on Yahoo Finance. You can see him on Fox News. Man, you are everywhere, my brother.
Listen, I just got a request today to be on Turkish television to talk about the. Yeah, exactly. How do they even find me?
Wait, how do they find you, man?
Dude, I have.
Is it LinkedIn?
I don't know. I have to. I don't know.
If I were you, I'd ask out of like pure curiosity. Hey, how did you find it? Because I do that.
I should. Yes, I will, actually. You're making me want to look for it now, but we're doing the show.
All right, Mike. So thank you so much for being on the show. The Oscars are Sunday. Why does the Oscars not have a host this year?
I don't think that nobody wants to host the Oscars. I think everybody wants to host the Oscars, but it's sort of, in some ways, it's a kind of gig like you have to be at a certain level for them to want you to host the Oscars. And in reality, that means that they need you more than you need them. You're not going to get it putting in Jimmy Kimmel. You're not going to get it putting in Whoopi Goldberg. You're not going to get it putting in somebody you can see on TV every day. Who cares? Okay. You're going to have to get somebody that people that has a huge following, that people pay to see, that has huge social media presence and influence, that people will watch just to see what they do.
The Rock.
Now, well, again, he'd be clearly a good choice. He'd be a good choice.
Chris Rock again.
But you see, but here's the thing.
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle, yes and no. But here's the thing. They also want somebody who plays to a younger audience. The Oscars, the people who watch the Oscars are the people who still watch network TV.
Really, Mike?
I think so. I mean, you look at the numbers for the Oscars over the years and you look at the numbers for network TV over the years, I'd say they decline very similarly. And what I'm saying is what the Oscars wants to do, just like everybody else, just like all these other award shows, they want to be relevant.
Well, I have a theory on why no one wants to host the Oscars, Mike.
Talk to me.
And I think it's what happened to Kevin Hart. It's a cautionary tale that once you're announced as the host of the Oscars, every single journalist is going to look through your Twitter feed and find the problem with you so they can expose it, exploit it, get clickbait, and get a viral moment out of it. And no one wants to be put in that position because the problem is when everything was cool, someone at some point when they were 11, when they were 6, they must have looked at a woman wrong. They must have said something in a moment of immaturity in college. Look what happened with Kavanaugh. They are dredging up stuff from 20, 30 years ago, judging you today and ruining and destroying your career. So who wants to put themselves through that position? Because in your head, you can't recollect every single moment, every single conversation, every single glance for the last 40, 50 years of your life. You just can't. It's impossible to do that. And so when somebody spends their time just trying to get you, it's not fun.
But does that mean if your theory is correct, and so in the short term they can find anybody, do you think that they're never going to have a host again? Is that what you think we're headed towards? A hostless Oscars forever?
No, because I think the climate will change. At some point, things are going to get softened up a little bit. I think that Time's Up and Me Too movement probably the peak of their moment was already happened in the last 2 years, and I think things will soften up. I think the political correctness of our country will dissipate slightly and go back to normal. I'm not saying people are going to be jerks again and men are going to start harassing women again, but to say that this is normal, the way we're living in, I think is also a stretch. So I think there's going to be a change in the way we look at it. Or here's another thing. They might just continue not having a host. Because why do you really need a host, Mike?
Well, I think a master of ceremonies is a good thing. I think a good host, you have been a host. I have been a host. You've hosted events, Q&As. You've hosted.
It's very hard to do.
It is.
You have to be a comedian to be a master of ceremonies, in my opinion. I don't have that comedic bone in me. And every time I do these, I'm just like by the book.
All right. I don't know that I'm more of a comedian than you, but I've done these things and I get it. And I definitely have friends who are comedians. And I think there is definitely a skill to being able to hold an audience, to know how to. I think a comedian's the perfect person. That's why there have been so many Bob Hopes and Whoopi Goldbergs and Billy Crystals. I think a comedian is the perfect type of host for the Oscars. You need somebody that's quick on their feet. That's the perfect master of ceremonies. And I think it adds to the show. If you've got a great comedian hosting, then you're going to have a great show. Because no matter what happens, that comedian knows how to turn lemons into lemonade, and turn a bad situation into a win. Mm-hmm. I mean, and again, if they're really involved, I also think the reason is not so much the scrutiny. I think if anybody that would want to do it at this point would want to make it theirs, So if you're going to do it, you need a couple of months. Like Jimmy Kimmel had little bits and things he had going on, and that's the way to do it. Make the Oscars make it your Oscar show. Make it entertaining for everybody.
So last year, 2018, the Oscars suffered, along with Jimmy Kimmel, the lowest ratings of all time, 26.5 million. How do you fix the ratings? Everybody's been saying, how do you fix the Oscars so it can be shorter, it can be stronger, and we can see an increase in ratings?
The Oscars needs a certain amount of controversy. They need a certain amount of stuff.
We have controversies this year. Green Book is the perfect controversy. Bohemian Rhapsody is a controversy.
I think that this year's Oscars probably will be watched because you have all the Avengers, and because, it's different, and because it's hostless, and because there's talk. And I think, Jimmy Kimmel ratings were low because Jimmy Kimmel appeals to a niche, only a certain amount of people actually give a shit about Jimmy Kimmel. Right. And Jimmy Kimmel is not exactly what you'd call hip.
But wait a minute. Okay, I get that, but why not Stephen Colbert, man?
Well, what does Stephen Colbert?
First of all, politics, which is an extremely hot topic.
Yeah. But
everything is political now.
I'll tell you, you can't do a Stephen Colbert because
CBS.
Okay. Well, not just CBS and his contract and all of that stuff, but if you put on, Bill Maher, how come he didn't do the Oscars? Because you can't put on somebody who's got specific political views, because then that distracts and takes away from the night. You don't want it to become a political night. You want it to be about the movies. So you got to have somebody, and again, it's an interesting order. You got to have somebody who's got a following, who's funny, who's quick on their feet, who knows how to hold an audience, who's hip, who people pay to go see. People would pay to hear what they had to say. People love them. They're well liked. They're appealing. That's not an easy thing to find every year.
What about Jamie Foxx?
Jamie Foxx don't need to do no damn Oscars. And he's not a sure thing. He doesn't do concerts like that. He's not doing comedy concerts anymore. He's not doing music concerts like that
anymore. He's hosting a TV show. I mean, I'm sure
he's got the chops. There are a lot of people with chops. You know who I think should be hosting the Oscars this year? Okay, and bringing everybody else out? It should be Robert Downey Jr. It's like,
oh my God, I was going to say that earlier in the show.
He's perfect. Robert Downey Jr. could do this in his sleep.
But again, I think the problem with Robert Downey is he doesn't need to do this.
Well, he doesn't need to do it, and he could give a crap if you go in his background. He could give a crap. He's like, yeah, whatever. I've been there.
So give me your 3 ideas that you would do to improve the Oscars.
Well, one, I think that you have Act 1 hosted by one person, Act 2 hosted by another person, Act 3 hosted by another person. You have 3 acts, 3 different takes on how the Oscars could be done. It keeps it fresh. It's a program. You know what you're going to get for the first 90 minutes, the second 90 minutes, third 90 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well,
you know what you're going to tune into.
Okay.
And that way you're trying stuff out. That next thing, lose all these stupid production numbers. Who cares? Okay. Keep it about the films. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I don't even watch the Oscars. Okay. I look at the things the next day. Listen.
No way. Why?
Dude, I can't sit through that shit.
What is it that you don't?
No fucking way.
What is it that you don't like?
Okay. First of all, if we get to a prediction part here, how many surprises are there? Okay. All right. So there's no suspense for me. There's no suspense. Okay. Second of all, I don't watch TV, period. That's just been my thing for many years. So that's a whole other conversation.
Here's Mike at the Oscars.
I didn't say, I'm just saying that to me, from a professional standpoint, of course, I need to know what happened. But I usually can just watch everything the next day. Anything that was great that I missed, like, they did a Shatner tribute. Right. That Star Trek, I'll watch that on YouTube.
It's the convenience of being able to be more efficient with your time and at the same time catch up just in the highlights.
Everything. Exactly.
Right, but that's the problem. We've become a highlight society.
Well, I was going to get there.
With sports, with entertainment, with late night shows. Nobody watches late night shows anymore. They watch the clips on YouTube the next day.
That's the hashtag right there. The highlight society.
The highlight society. All right.
Yes, I'm with you. Hashtag highlight society.
So here's my opinion on what we should do to improve the Oscars. 1, get rid of the host. I actually agree with that. If you want to be more efficient with your time, because a lot of the jokes after the opening are, for the most part, pretty terrible. And they're hokey and jokey and campy. And it's a waste of what Ellen DeGeneres and Jimmy Kimmel did. The hijack of the Oscars to do their corny bits that took forever for a punchline. I think that wastes time, right?
I agree. Well, I agree with you.
Here's the way the show should open. Commercial, show begins at 8 p.m. They walk out, best actor right off the bat, or best director right off the bat. Don't leave. Take one that's supposed to be at the end and move it to the top. That way, it sets the tone. Like, wow, they're starting off with best director right off the bat. Whoa, man! And then have strong musical performances. 5 musical performances, if you can, of each best song. Right?
I'm with that. I'm with the musical performances.
Shave it down to 2 hours. Make everything strong, and maybe you can have some musical numbers or something like that.
It'll still be 3 hours.
Okay, 3 hours. But
change it. You could shave it down to 2 hours if you got rid of multiple sponsors and got one big sponsor for the whole thing.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Presented by, yes.
It'll be exclusively used for the whole night. Amazon.
Exactly. Exactly.
Apple sponsors the Oscars.
Right. Exactly. Or just 2 or 3 companies, and that's it.
The other thing is, why not make the Oscars a little bit more popular? I never fully understood why the best popular category was so completely misunderstood by so many people.
I don't think it was misunderstood. I think that
people hated it.
Well, I think it. I agree. People should have hated it.
But why?
Well, because it was bad timing. Okay, and what does it really mean?
Here's what it means to me, man. It means to me the best popular category says, okay, the Oscars are an art house award show. Moonlight is an art house indie film.
Dude, I agree with you in terms of often what wins, not always, is art house, and often what's nominated is
But what was the last time a blockbuster film won Best Picture, Mike?
All right, hold on.
But you can't get it right off the top of your head because it doesn't exist.
Titanic.
Okay, Titanic. The majority of moviegoers in the United States and across the world go to event films, the tentpole epic event films, 3D, IMAX, superhero films.
Agreed.
That's what they go to. For those films to be excluded when it comes to celebrating film, I think is an outrage.
I agree with you.
And so
but
I think they should fit them in. And if they don't want to fit it into the best picture category, then fit them into the best blockbuster category.
I disagree 100%, and I'll tell you why. Why? Because that's not letting it in. That's creating a new category to say, okay, you're not good enough to be the best, but you were the most popular. Oh, bravo for you. That's bullshit. That's a bullshit category, and it doesn't mean anything. You've already won because you won at the box office. You don't need to win an award saying, hey, you won at the box office. It's redundant, okay?
Okay, so why don't we change the criteria of the way films are made? For example, in music, they take all the sales from CDs, streams, YouTube videos to find out who the winner is, because they're not just looking at it from a quality perspective, they're also looking at it from a business financial perspective of which movie made the most amount, which lets you know which movie was the most liked by the people that are watching the Oscars.
I agree, but again, it's not the people who vote for the Oscars, so it doesn't really matter what's popular. I don't even get into the popular. There's the People's Choice Awards for that, okay, and there's the box office for that. But
and I think the people should have a say.
I don't. Don't
you
think
think
it matters? No,
Mike,
no,
why wouldn't it matter? I'm the one spending the money to go see a movie. I'm the one dictating what I like and what I don't like.
Then listen, then don't watch the Oscars, okay? because to me, the Oscars is not about what people think is the best. It's about what the members of the Academy think is the best. Let's be real.
But it's a club then. It's a club. They're
all clubs. The Golden Globes is a club. The Critics' Choice Awards is a club.
Mike.
And listen,
it should
all
be
the clubs
open to the public to
that's
vote.
A different
Why don't you let
thing.
the public vote?
That's the public. Don't vote in the Oscars, you fool. All right, but here's what I'm saying. The whole point of expanding the Oscars to 10 films was to be more inclusive for those films that not just the art house films. The fact that there's room for 10, that they only chose 8, and there are 2 films that we mentioned that easily could have been nominated is really the travesty. It's like, okay, why have 10 if you're not going to put 10 in there?
All right, Mike, let's move on to the predictions. Let's begin with Best Picture. Can you go through the top 8?
Sure. The 8 that are nominated is Black Panther. That's, the superhero movie. Black Klansman, the Spike Lee film. Bohemian Rhapsody, that's the Queen biopic. The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, that's the Alfonso Cuarón film. A Star is Born, everybody knows about that. And Vice, which is sort of like the dark horse in this.
I like Green Book, but it's not even in my top 10 personal films of 2018. And this movie carries a lot of controversies, Mike. Do you want to go through the controversies, the Green Book, and why people are outraged that the movie was nominated for Best Pick?
First of all, I do want to say that I know I may get my black card revoked, but I really, I loved Green Book. I loved it for what it was. I think part of the controversy from the family and from black folks, and especially black critics who really hated the film. They hated it because they felt it fell into the territory of Driving Miss Daisy.
The Root said that it spoon feeds racism to white people. That's pretty harsh. Also, the movie, like you said, I think people wanted to see a reversal role between maybe the black man saving the white man as opposed to the white man always saving the black man in the film.
Well, but I don't feel that the white man really does save him. I think they save each other. I think they save each other's humanity. The white man needed a spiritual awakening. He had a lot of things wrong with him.
Right.
Okay. And knowing him, he didn't have to he took a different kind of action in his life. And I think that that's what the film was about. And in terms of spoon feeding white people racism, you know what? That's how you have to feed racism to white people. You have to spoon feed it to them for them to even get what it is, to get what the history is, to get the impact of it.
Okay, but you're essentially saying that they had to dumb it down.
No,
for white people,
I'm not saying,
so they can understand what racism is.
Dude, I'm not saying you have to dumb it down, but let's be realistic, okay? Let's be totally realistic here. We're going to talk about racism. We're going to talk about white people, talk about the relations between black and white people. Okay, here's the deal. No, white people, okay, or black people, the reason black historical dramas don't do well traditionally is because they're difficult to watch. 12 Years a Slave is a hard film to watch.
Birth of a Nation was a hard film to watch,
Birth
too.
of a film. All these films are hard films to watch. Now, they're hard for you to watch if you're a black person and you go, oh my God, look at what's happening to people who are portraying me on screen. It's horrible. A lot of black people don't even want to see that. Okay. White people, how can you look at that and not feel something?
White guilt, man. At that moment, you start feeling, look.
I don't think believe in white guilt. I call it shame. It's white shame. How can you not look at that and be ashamed of what people that look like you have done to people that look like me? So, point being, okay, if you want to talk about it, okay, remember, Green Book is a comedy, okay? And a comedy that deals with race and the South and racism and all the issues that come up in Green Book and friendship and this and that. There are all these things that come up in Green Book that are framed as a comedy, that are centered around a real life experience. And in my opinion, it's pretty great. Right. That's what I think. It worked for me.
Okay.
Now, this is not a movie for black people. This is a movie for white people. That's what it is. That's what it is.
Okay, I've never heard it like that, but you know what? I think you might actually have a point.
I'm certain I do, because most films are.
Right. It's produced by a white guy. It's directed by Peter Farrelly. It's written by a white guy. So, yeah, you know what?
The son of the guy, yes.
Moving on to... Let's just talk about the best supporting role. Mahershala Ali is the front runner for this. Do I think he should win? No, I actually think Richard E. Grant should win once again.
Richard E. Grant.
He should win Best Supporting Actor.
Absolutely.
I love Mahershala Ali's performance.
Absolutely.
But there was a magic that Richard E. Grant brought. The fact that this guy is in the lock to win because of his charm, because of those final moments where he receives some news that changes his demeanor, and the ability to hold the screen when he's on it, and
Completely.
to give Melissa McCarthy a run for her money, and she was outstanding in that film.
She was deep in character.
Holy cow! So the fact that people are saying Mahershala Ali should win, he already won an Oscar. But I think Richard E. Grant should win it.
I think Richard E. Grant should win it, and I think he will win it. I will tell you.
Really? Okay.
First of all, how can you put Adam Driver for Black Klansman next? Man. How do you even put that performance? Mahershala Ali and Richard E. Grant. Okay, I will give Mahershala Ali. He's great, but I'll be honest. Mahershala Ali could do that role in his sleep.
Yep.
That was not that much of a stretch for him, but he was brilliant. Adam Driver, get the hell out of here. Sam Elliott's great.
Adam Driver looked like he phoned in his performance.
He did. What did he do? I couldn't even tell you the name of his character. Sam Elliott, in my opinion. I mean, I love Sam Elliott, but Sam Elliott really all he had to do is be Sam Elliott.
Nah, man. Sam Elliott gave such an understated emotional presence.
But he always does. He's great. He's a great actor.
Okay, but within this film, it fit bigger than ever.
Dude, I think it was good. I don't think that it was Oscar worthy. I think it was, or let's put it this way. I don't think it was much of a stretch for him.
Let's go to actor in a leading role. You got Christian Bale in Vice, Bradley Cooper in A Star Is Born, Willem Dafoe at Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek in Bohemian Rhapsody, Viggo Mortensen in Green Book. To me, Rami Malek should win this easy for a movie that wasn't even supposed to sniff $100 million. It was a movie that was just made to kind of cater to fans and all of a sudden became a viral hit because of the music and of the performance. Rami Malek, if he wasn't in this movie would not be the success it is under anyone else. He was chosen. He was born to play this role, killed it. I've seen that movie about 5 times just to see Rami Malek. I have not felt that for either Christian Bale, Bradley, Willem, or Viggo. So to me, magic. Bringing a new energy, a new air to a performance of a guy. I mean, you want to talk about a stretch? Mr. Robot to this guy? He takes it.
I thought Viggo was really good in Green Book, but I think Viggo's just somewhat underrated actor. I think again, I don't think it was that much of a stretch for him.
What about Bradley?
Bradley, I mean, I'm sorry. Bradley was doing Sam Elliott.
Oh, come on. So you're going to knock him for being inspired by someone else?
I don't think he was inspired. I think he was doing Sam Elliott throughout the movie.
Wow, okay.
And I thought it was too on the nose, as a matter of fact, because he even has a line where Sam Elliott goes, "Oh, you took my voice." And it's like, yeah, he took your voice. He's been talking like you throughout the whole movie. I like Bradley Cooper, and I think we all know he's a great mimic. Okay, he can do a fantastic Christopher Walken, and he does this character he does in Guardians of the Galaxy. You would have no idea that that's Bradley Cooper. So he knows how to use his voice. He knows his instrument, and to me, it was just a little too on the nose.
All right, actress in a leading role, Yalitza Aparicio for Roma, Glenn Close, The Wife, Olivia Colman for The Favorite, Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born, and Melissa McCarthy, Can You Ever Forgive Me? Who do you have here?
I think Glenn Close is going to win.
Why?
Okay. Did you see The Wife?
Yep, I saw it. So for those of you that haven't, let me tell you, one of my favorite films of the year. Top 20, top 25 films.
Definitely.
This is a movie that I loved because it was a story and it was like the intricate details, like almost a granular level detail depiction of a writer who's about to win a Nobel Prize. And it's the wife who did most of the work to get him to that place, and how she has to hold back and almost surrender her identity in front of a man, because the man needs to get all the credit, not the woman. And it creates this extremely powerful storyline for Glenn Close's character as the wife. And that's why the movie's called The Wife.
I think you're dead on with your synopsis of the film and her performance in it. I think that one of the things that Oscars does is that if you've been doing great work a long time, been nominated a long time, at some point...
She's owed.
She's due, yes. So right. I think she's due.
Yalitza Aparicio. I've been having, as a Latino that wants to support Latino talent, I'm glad that she's here, and I'm glad that we're talking about her. The fact that she's indigenous, and she opened up those conversations about indigenous casting and the irrelevance that indigenous faces had throughout history and media. The fact that indigenous people are getting their due is more of the bigger picture of her nomination. Do I believe that she should have been nominated? No. But again, I think it's one of those choices to kind of shock people, to kind of make a statement from the voters, and to include different faces. I think if there's ever a moment, this is it.
I think she should have been nominated for all the reasons that she was. Do I think... she needs, if to win, it would probably do more for her than anybody else in this list who don't necessarily need the Oscar. But I don't think she will win, but I do think she deserved it. Now, what am I taking us through? Best
Director. We got Black Klansman from Spike Lee. Cold War from Powell Pawlikowski. The Favorite with Yorgos Lanthimos. Roma, Alfonso Cuarón, and Vice, Adam McKay. A lot of Europeans. Mike, who was the best director of 2018?
You know, that's an interesting question, because I think what let me just go through it a little bit. I think this is definitely the best thing Spike Lee's done in like 10, 15 years. And it's not easy material to do. And it's not something I do feel Spike is due.
Here's the problem I have with what you're telling me, man, that Spike Lee could win this because he's due. The Glenn Close is due. So what is the Oscars then, man? Is this like, hey, man, anybody who's been due, please step up to the line. We'll give you the award right here, and we won't really define you for your performance. We're just going to define you over the snubs we've had throughout the last 20 years.
Hello, Scent of a Woman. Hello.
I know, but you just mentioned two of them back to back, Glenn Close and Spike Lee getting awards because they're due.
Every year it happens. It happens every year.
But it shouldn't, man. And this is what's starting to kind of get on my nerves. This due. We're here to celebrate the best of the year. If you're going to give out awards because they're due to them, then we shouldn't have a ceremony, man. I think Alfonso Cuarón is the best director of 2018. I think he's proven it. Every director has asked him, how have you done? Spike Lee went, how did you do that shot? The one in the sea, the one in the beach. How did you do it?
I can't really argue that. I think probably he's probably who deserves it. Though I feel Spike might win because he's due. That's my only. Right. That's I stand with that. All right, so let's move on to best animated feature film.
I can't wait to talk about this because I think that this particular category is one of the most toughest choices of all the categories. in this year?
Well, I have to say, these are 5 really good films. Incredibles 2, which is the sequel to The Incredibles. It's just easily as good as the first one. Isle of Dogs, which I loved. I've seen it twice. I loved it. I loved it. I was so surprised because I had no expectations. I really didn't even want to see it. But it's probably now my favorite Wes Anderson film.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. But Mirai, which is the Japanese film, Ralph Breaks the Internet, the sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is really a beautiful, well done, again, groundbreaking film in terms of the genre and animation, and not looking like any of these other films do.
So here's what I've been hearing. And this is just the noise from the press, from the outlets, from Twitter, from social media, from colleagues leaving comments. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is the best Spider-Man film ever made. And according to many, the best superhero movie ever made. Not live action, but I guess they're including live action and animation all together. I was shocked at that. They're also saying is that you just got to watch it. There is nothing wrong with this film. This film is beyond what it is, and it should be nominated for Best Picture of the year. Is that exaggeration, or is this...
that is hyperbole. Yes, it is. Hyperbole.
Okay. I have not seen the film, by the way. I just haven't had a chance to see it.
Well, let me say this. It's great. It's great. You like it much more than you thought you would. It completely works. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't hit a false note. It's a lot of fun.
That's Mike Sargent. You can catch him on WBAI Radio, watch him on Fox News. You can watch him on PBS, and you can watch him on Yahoo Finance. The man is all over the place.
Yes, Mike on Screen. That's where you can find me.
And you can catch him on social media at Mike on Screen. All right, Mike, take it easy, buddy.
Thanks, man.
That's it for episode 105 of the Highly Relevant Podcast. I want to thank Javier Bardem and Mike Sargent for joining me, and I hope you guys enjoyed the discussions as well. If you'd like to support the show, please help spread the word on social media and tell all your friends about it. You can reach me on Twitter at JackRicoOfficial and on Instagram at JackRico. Also, remember to tune in this Saturday morning at 11 a.m. for a brand new episode of Consumer 101 on NBC. I'm Jack Rico. See you next week on another episode of Highly Relevant.
Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform is making it easier than ever to support Black-owned brands. When you go to walmart.com/Black and Unlimited, you'll not only get to shop products from Black-owned brands, but also learn about founders like Janelle Stevens of Camille Rose, which specializes in products for naturally curly hair. And there are many more awesome products that you have yet to discover. It's all easy to find with Walmart's Black and Unlimited platform. Join in on celebrating Black brands today and every day at Walmart. We are Black and Unlimited. Visit walmart.com/Black and Unlimited to discover more. That's walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.